My story is about Oregon. So the Oregon House just passed a bill that preemptively puts a 10-year moratorium on fracking, and it's currently considered by the Senate of the state. And the context is that currently there are no fracking wells in Oregon, but there's some natural gas potential in the Willamette Valley, and the Oregon House actually approved the ban by wide bipartisan margin of 42 to 12 votes on March 18th, last Monday. And other states that have already banned it are New York, Vermont, and Maryland. And Florida and New Mexico are considering bans. So this is a sort of growing movement in state legislatures that are banning fracking, even if there's no fracking currently taking place in the state.
So do you think this is going to what extent do you think this will influence places where there is real potential? I mean, obviously we see New York, there's real potential, at least with gas, and they are restricting that.
Well, it's difficult to estimate this because I'm not, of course, an expert on every state legislature and also the public opinions in every American state. But I think it's a really bad sign that even states that don't currently experience any fracking activity already have these wide margins of hostility against this practice. And also, one of the arguments was we have to study this further before we can assess all these impacts. And that's interesting because the fracking boom, of course, has been taking on for like 10 years now in the United States, and there's plenty of opportunity to study the precise uh, or potential concerns and see them in context of Oregon's geology.
Yeah, and to go back to what I was talking about with Robert Phelan and looking at environmental policies in the full context, there's plenty known about the impacts of restricting industry in terms of restricting productivity. Certainly, that restricts tax receipts, and then restricting unemployment, and then unemployment is just hugely correlated to all sorts of negative kinds of things. So it's just this thing where people have this idea that restricting industry is a morally unchallengeable phenomenon and really a risk-free phenomenon, whereas my default is to view it as a terrifying phenomenon. To restrict, I mean, because to restrict industry is just to restrict really efficient, really productive activity. And what you want to do is you want to deal with the fact that, yeah, sometimes that activity can truly endanger somebody. So you want laws specifically against the endangerment, or it might be some version of the activities generating side effects that are not worth it because there's some alternative that doesn't have the side effects. So either you modify like the coal technology to have less side effects, or maybe in some case you use a different technology. So there are cases where you want the laws to lead to an intelligent use of industry, but where you're saying thou shalt not drill for oil and gas using modern technology, which is in effect what fracking is, that is that is a really, really scary kind of thing.